Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone in today's class for the 6th elementary grade. Our textbook is Weekend 3 and today inshallah we will cover Unit 7 Fun on the Weekend. Lesson is Phonics Practice on page 110. This lesson will be presented by me, teacher Mazen Harbi, and the sign language by Mr. Salih Al-Ujan. So let's begin. So quick revision on our last lesson. In our last lesson, we did learn and listen about words that has these two letters. So we did the practice and we did listen to words that has the ND sound and also the NT sound. And what we did is that we listened to those words and we practiced them together so we can get to know more of these words that starts with or that has ND and NT. So an example of a word that has ND is like a word of sand, sand. And an example of a word that has NT sound, which is tent, tent. So, and we said that it is important when we pronounce these words to differentiate or to identify the differences between the ND and NT. So we have the first word, sand, with ND sound, and the second one, tent, with NT sound. And after this, what we did is that we had a practice where we listened and we put a check mark. And also we wrote ND or NT, and then we completed the word. So what we did last time is that we had this exercise. The first thing we did is that we listened to the words, and after this, we decided whether the completion of this word is ND or NT. And once we know this, then we'll put a check mark in the appropriate blank. And after this, after we know what should we write here, we started in writing down these words. So now let's make a quick revision on this exercise. So as we can see here for the first one, the first word here we have is hand. Say with me, hand, hand. Very good. So hand ends with ND, and this is why here we put the check mark. So we should go right here and complete it with N and D. Now, let's listen to the second word, and this time, once you listen, you should repeat after me and then put a check mark, whether under the ND or under the NT. And after this, when we know which one of them, then we will have to write them down here. So let's begin. The second word is paint, paint. Say with me, paint, paint. Very good. So what do you think? Paint, which is when you draw and draw things in your drawing class. So paint, does it end with ND or NT? What do you think? We said that it ends with NT. So now we have to go again to this, go again here and write down N and T. Paint, paint. Now, let us move on to the third word. As we did here, we're going to listen carefully to this word. After we listen, we're going to decide whether if it ends with ND or NT. So let's listen. Stand, stand. Say with me, stand. Very good. So stand, does it end with ND or NT? What do you think? It is, of course, ends with ND. So now we have to write it and write ND here. So here we are going to write N and D. Here we're going to write ND. Stand. Stand. Now, let us move on for the last word. The last word. So, as we did, we're going to listen and decide whether if it ends with NT or ND. So, the last word is plant. 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 Very good. So what do you think? Does this word end with ND or NT? It is, of course, ends with NT, plant. Where can we water plants? In front of our houses or in our garden. Plant ends with NT, so now we'll have to write NT right here in these two blanks. So here we write NT. Very good. So here you go. This is how we answered the last exercise on our last lesson. When we listen and we try to differentiate between the ND sound and the NT sound. Not only this, but we also did do a symbol chant. Where in this chant, what we did is that we did listen and we circle. We did listen and we circle the words that has ND sound and the NT sound. And after this, we chant it again. So I'm going to say this chant now. I would like you to listen carefully and try to figure what are the words that ends with NT and the words that ends with ND. So let's start. There is sand all around. There is sand in my hand. Golden sand in the sun. There is a tent on the land. There is a tent on the sand. Golden sand in the sun. Very well. Now we're going to chant it one more time, and I would like you to chant it with me. There is sand all around. There is sand in my hand. Golden sand in the sun. There is a tent on the land. There is a tent on the sand. Golden sand in the sun. Very well. Now, we did chant this chant, and what we did also is that we circled the words that ends with ND and also the words that ends with NT. So let's try it now. Let's try to circle the words that ends with ND or NT. So let's begin with our first sentence here, and let's try to circle the words that ends with ND or NT. So there is a sand. This is the first word that ends with ND. There is a sand. All around. All around. The word around also ends with ND. So we circle this one. There is a sand. This is also a word that ends with ND. In my hand. My hand, also the word hand ends with ND. Golden sand, and also the word sand ends with ND. Now, there is a tent. Tent here ends also with NT. Tent also ends with NT. So here we're going to write or circle the word tent. On the land, and here also the word land ends with ND. There is a tent, and also the word tent ends with NT. On the sand, and also the word sand ends with ND. And finally, golden sand in the sun. And here we have the word sand ends with nd. So here are the words that ends with nd and nt. Can you tell how many words that has ends with nt and how many words that ends with nd? As you can see here, we have 8 words that ends with nd and only 2 words that ends with nt. This was the last exercise we did on our last lesson. Now, let's get to know our objectives in today's lesson. In today's lesson, we hope that at the end of this lesson, you will be able to point and say the keywords. To point and say the keywords with AE or EE and also IE. So now we're getting to know and to pronounce words that has these letters AE and also EE and also IE. So to begin with, I would like you please to open your books on page 110. I would like you please to open your books on page 110. Now, on page 110, what we're going to do is that we're going to listen to words that has long vowels. And how we would do this, we're going to listen and repeat these words. And after this, we're going to point and say the keywords again. So now we're getting to know, to listen, and also to repeat words that starts with these letters. A, E, and that has words that has these 2 letters, E, E, and also words that has these 2 letters, I and E. So let's begin by listening to the first words. So here is the first word from the AE group of words. What we're going to do now is that we're going to point, listen, and repeat again. So the first word is tape. Tape. Say with me. Tape. Tape. So this is how we write the word tape. It has A and E. Tape. Tape. Very good. Now let's listen for the second word. The second word here in the AE group is snake. Snake. Say with me. Snake. Snake. So snake here has these 2 letters, A, and ends with E. This is a snake. We pronounce it as snake. Very good. Now let's listen to the third word. The third word from the AE group of words is cane. Cane. Say with me. Cane. Cane. Very well. So cane here has A as the second letter and E at the end. This is a cane, and it is pronounced as cane. Now let's listen to the next word. The next word from the AE group is the word gate. Gate. Say with me. Gate. Gate. Very well. Gate also has A and ends with the letter E. This is a gate. A gate. Now, the next word from the AE group is bake. Bake. Say with me. Bake. Bake. Very good. Bake also, it has A and E at the end. Bake. This man is trying to bake a cake. Bake. Very good. Next, from the AE group is name. Name. Say with me. Name. Name. Very well. Name also has A and E at the end. Name. Like when we ask someone, what's your name? So here also the most famous word here in our group, which is cake. The word cake, cake, cake. Cake has A and E at the end. Cake. The last word in the AE group, which is vase, not F, it pronounced as V. Vase, vase, vase. So vase is where we put our flowers. Next we have from the second group, which is words that has E and E, like the name of Pete, Pete, Pete. So this word has two E's. And also word like the name of Steve, Steve, Steve. Also Steve, a word that has two E inside. And also the girl, her name is Eve, Eve, Eve. Very good. So Eve also has two E in her name. So the last group of words that has I and E. Words like pine, pine, pine. Pine is a kind of a tree, pine. I and E at the end. And also the word line, 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 like a street line or a notebook line. And also the word bite, 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 bite. Also the word bite, when he's trying to bite something. Bite. It has I and E at the end. And also the most valuable thing, which is time, time, time. Time that has I and E at the end. So we did listen and pronounced a group of words that has these letters. A-E like tape, E-E like Steve, and I-N-E like time. It's important that we do listen to these words more often and also we repeat them again. Now, at the end of our lesson, I would like to thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.